Now, when we're talking about a customer persona or a customer avatar, a customer persona is the outline of the type of customer likely to purchase our products. Most companies or businesses constantly update their personas of their customers to ensure that when they're thinking about their customers, they have the most relevant, the most current person's picture, quite essentially, in mind. A customer persona may vary from one product to another, and even from one social media to another. Think about this logically. Imagine you're running a restaurant. Let's say your restaurant is McDonald's. Now, McDonald's has lots of different food options available, mostly burgers. But within those burgers, each of the burgers that you have are quite essentially different products. And each of those products would have a different type of customer who's most likely to buy them. So you're going to be creating a different buyer persona or customer persona for each and every burger. It's the same with mobile phones. It's the same with cars. It's the same with lots of different businesses and lots of different products that they sell. Because in reality, if you are catering to different groups of people or different segments, chances are you're doing it with different products. So each of these segments will have a different buyer persona because their needs are fundamentally different. I bought a new phone recently, and it is amazing. However, my needs are very, very different from, let's say, my parents. So my mom bought a new phone last year, very, very different needs. So if you look at a business thinking, okay, if we've got a range of mobile phones with different specifications, catering to different segments of the market, then the company has to think, well, what does our individual customer basically look like? Now, when it comes to a buyer persona or a customer avatar or a customer persona, in reality, that picture or that profile that we create, it represents the entire segment. So it's not going to be super duper specific saying customer A is this, customer B is this, customer C is this, and all the way for your 1,000, 100,000, million customers that you have. It's going to be customer A, as in this segment, looks like this, which could represent the customers for one particular product. Or it could represent the customer base for maybe a category of products, which this one caters to. When developing a customer persona or a customer avatar, there's a few different things we can look at. We can look at it from the perspective of what someone thinks, what someone feels, which is basically psychographic segmentation. We can look at it from the perspective of what do they see, what do they hear, what do they say, what are their pain factors, and what are the gains that they're looking for. The pain factors, the pain points are basically the things that they're stumbling on or finding difficult. But let's go to the beginning. So what someone thinks and what someone feels. The kind of questions we want to answer here is, what is important to this particular customer? What are their dreams? What are their unspoken desires? From an emotional perspective, what moves them? From a fear perspective, what keeps them up at night? From an environmental perspective, what does it look like? So what does their surroundings look like? What do their friends look like? What are the things that they're exposed to? What problems do they encounter on a daily basis? From a hearing perspective, what kind of things are being discussed in their friends group? What do their significant other or their spouse says? Who in reality are the people that influence this particular customer? What media channels are they interacting with? What are they influenced by? Is it books? Is it people? Is it sporting events? Is it news? Is it magazines? Is it radio? So all these things allow us to get a better idea of who our customers is. In terms of what they do and what they say, so here we're looking at attitudes. So what is this particular customer's attitudes? What image do they like to portray? What conflicts occur between this particular person and potentially their surroundings? From a pain point perspective, or fears, frustrations, and obstacles, What is the client's current pain points or customer's current pain points? What are their biggest frustrations? What obstacles hold them back? What risks might they be in fear of? What are the boundaries that they need to be set or need to be tackled? From a gains perspective, what does the client gain? What does the client want to achieve? How does the client measure success? What strengths and shortcuts might help our client to achieve their goals? All these different things, once again, builds our customer persona, helps us to understand us as in the business, to understand who our customer is. Most of this stuff is psychological and behavioral segmentation type information. And once we understand it, we really understand how they think and what they do, how they think being psychographic, what they do behavioral. And by taking these two factors, then we can go out and go, okay, from a communication perspective, let's communicate like this. From a product perspective, let's build products like this. From a pricing perspective, let's go for this kind of pricing option. From a place distribution logistics perspective, let's distribute our products this way so it meets their lifestyle needs and so on. It is important to note when you're building a client persona or client's avatar or customer persona, there isn't really a right way or wrong way as such. There's lots of different ways of doing it. The criteria that you use and the questions that you ask, once again, it can be quite different. It really depends on you and the segment that you're basically looking at. The key thing to remember is, as long as the questions you're asking gets you an insight into your customer and helps you to understand them better, then you're on the right track. And the other thing to remember, right, another key consideration is a client persona that you create today may not be relevant 6 months from now, or may not be relevant a year from now, because our customers also change, right? Their lifestyle changes, their needs change. Remember, we talked about how, if we're thinking about different customer groups, right? People that go to school, people that are studying at university, people that are getting their first jobs. Now, each three of these are completely different segments. People that are in school have very different needs to people that are about to start their first job. And they have very different needs to those who are at university. Yes, there are similarities, but there are also vast differences as well. Now, if we can understand how each of these different segments are, we can build different client personas for each of them and therefore provide products that better meet their needs.